Hi, everybody. This is day 1011 days since Richard vanished from the barracks at Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And he didn't just vanish, something happened, and now we're finding out how severe this case is, how much we've been lied to. Yeah, you have to remember, I'm coming from the point of 1,011 days. 1,011 days of this, and um, so we have these piles of leaks here, and uh, of course the death certificate information. Um, we think, well, we're really looking into that because there is some discrepancies with Richard's birthday. I don't know, 2020 was a very messy year. I don't think that I's were dotted and T's were crossed. And I think people, it was a very panicky year. And I don't think names were, it's, I think that we need to question it. We need to question it. So we have a couple of dates that were flying in these leads, different dates for Richard's birthday, but not the accurate birthday. So we have to put in FOIAs for those birth dates, um, and we'll see what happens. It should be 20 days. Rob put in a whole bunch of FOIAs already, and you want to make sure that you get the accurate data, and they should answer you within 20 days. We've been waiting 2 years for the Child Protective Service complaints. They don't want to give us those Child Protective Service complaints. They're working on it, and that's a breach of our rights. And so we have to move forward into what we're going to do about this, because um, we have the right to know. We have the Freedom of Information Act, right? We have the freedom to know. And it's just like this death certificate. Do we believe that Richard was murdered? Yes. So when do we believe he was murdered? Uh, on and around 23rd, 24th of July, 2020. That's when we believe that he was murdered. Did they find his remains? I believe that they found his remains, and yes, I believe that they are keeping it a secret from us. Because I think the brutality, like last night, I called it the Jack the Ripper brutality that the perpetrators had against him, that committed against him, the atrocities. And so, what kind of people? And I believe it was a group, because I think you have to have a skilled surgeon, someone that had some kind of surgery experience. With what we're reading and these conflicting, and they are conflicting um, reports, and that's why we want to know the truth. But what is common in all of this is that Richard was brutally murdered. He was cut apart. He was divided. And he was placed in different areas to be found. And so that required that required surgical skill. So we've looked at the background. We know that there are suspects in this, lead suspects, who we think are part of this brutal murder. That our military, our U.S. Marshals, our sheriffs, our El Paso Police Department, our Bill Hicks, the DA, Jaime Esparza, the AG. You have Greg McDonald, who you don't even know what he looks like. They get their safety. They don't even get to put up their picture, and here they work um, for us, but they don't even put up their picture. Why is that? Um, but all of these people uh, are perpetuating and also laying the groundwork for more crimes to happen if they don't do their job here, right? We have like a Jack the Ripper kind of person walking around, and even a group of them, and we have um, our, uh, you know, our people that we're supposed to be keeping safe. It's all about keeping each other safe, right? I mean, all these years, all these government programs, all these government agencies, all these, it's all about, oh, we've got to keep you safe, right? And yet, we have been put more and more danger. These government agencies have not done what they are supposed to do. And now we have our volunteer sons and daughters being brutally murdered or missing or maligned. And so we've been working on that today for moms, our new group, mothers of missing, murdered, maligned soldiers. And yeah, so I hope that you share that information. I put that out on Facebook. I hope you share it. And so that we can form a group and help each other out. We really need to do that. And because we came in this just depending, being ignorant and depending on our agencies. And our agencies absolutely have lied to us. And we have proof of that. We have proof of that um, uh, because of the Dollar General man, because of father-in-law of Lieutenant Colonel Bugado in the G3 of the 32nd ADCOM, because of the whole situation with the leaks, um, the whole situation with Quantico CID saying, they're going to share a letter. Now we get a message today saying, oh, well, I had to take a sick day. Do you have any information you want to share with us? And I'm like, what? What? What in the world? Um, I we have shared and shared and shared information. They should have letters ready to go to us months and months ago, years ago, years ago. And it's so insulting because this is not about a lost puppy, right? This is not about a murdered puppy. I think a murdered dog, a murdered puppy that was cut asunder and divided and placed different places would probably get more press attention than a missing active duty murdered volunteer soldier of our country, of our republic, um, who has gotten no press release when we have leaks for the from the CID. I'm pretty emotional tonight thinking about what happened to Richard because I've been reading through this paperwork before I came on, and it is I've been reading through the autopsies, and we really need to know because this is so brutal, y'all. It's so brutal. And I think it's brutal of them to make us go through this. And they're absolutely hiding this. And children are, because this has to do with so many bad things. So many bad things. And I try to keep this as clean as possible. Family friendly. Family friendly. I try to think of things that are honorable and have integrity and what's good in the world, um and I have to come on here to keep alive the brutal murder of my son, who was just cut to pieces, y'all. Cut to pieces for defending women and the sexual um, exploitation of women, for protecting children and the sexual exploitation of children, and the changing of documents and records. You see, there's some employee of the United States Army that's not military. Is it a contractor? Is it not a contractor? Is it just an employee? And I want to tell you, these employees that are up to no good, they are subject to UCMJ. They're subject to this is what I'm reading. And you have the likes of our officials. One that could do so much, got Cover Up Veronica, who absolutely doesn't care that a Jack the Ripper group is out there, and that they did this to a whistleblower soldier, and that this is our military, and these are people that work for our government that did this. And then we have those that work for our government covering it up. And so Richard, let's do the timeline. So Richard joins the military. He goes to basic training. He is the Distinguished Honor Graduate for his cycle in basic training. He goes to AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. He is the Distinguished Honor Graduate, number 1, for Advanced Individual Training. He goes to Delta Battery 143, becomes the guidon, becomes the guidon, and also does the medical training. Anyway, it'll come to me. And is deployed to Qatar. He starts trying to clip out of more college credits. He sees some awful things going on in Qatar. He tells us it's really bad. It's really bad. I do not want to make the Army a career. Matter of fact, I want to get out. I think that this is where we should absolutely, as moms, mothers of missing, murdered, maligned soldiers, absolutely we should get together and say there needs to be a time period there, a testing, that the volunteer soldier can say, I have been lied to by my recruiter and I'm getting out. And absolutely put forth, there has to be some kind of court where you could go and get out. Because I know Richard told us in Qatar, He had totally changed his mind. It was so bad, he didn't want anything to do with the military. And when he came back from Qatar and visited us, he told us, I will talk about anything, but not the Army. I don't want to talk about the Army. So, if that's, things had to be pretty bad. And then he makes this video. He makes this video saying, I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. So what is he saying? He's saying that right there at Fort Bliss and in Qatar, there are whores and blow. Okay? He's saying there is business plans in the military of prostitution and illegal substances, which is really bringing down our society, our country. That's the message. And the more that I read, the more that I absolutely understand the message that he was giving in that video. Okay. So he decides things are really bad. He keeps telling me he doesn't really want to talk about it. Things are really bad. They're just really bad. Rob tells him, stay low. Just do your time, then get out. But things were so bad, and we didn't know this, but things were so bad that even just minding your own business was not an option. Because children were being harmed. Children were being harmed. Sexually, and being filmed, and that being marketed. So not only do you have a prostitution ring and a substance abuse or narcotics ring, but you also have pedophilia, and you have a child pornography ring. You have under the guise of childcare. It's just so shocking. And we have Veronica covering up this. We have Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe covering up for this. We have Command Sergeant Major choosing this over what is good and right. We have Brigadier General Stewart choosing this over the future for his children. Absolutely. This is what they're choosing. And they'll probably say, well, but my job is... No. No. No money, no job is an excuse for covering up for narcotic... sorry, I'm so emotional. Narcotics ring, a pedophilia ring, a child pornography ring, a sex cult ring, a prostitution ring, and according to Brigadier General Stewart, the weapons were flush. And there's a weapon problem, y'all. The SOPs aren't being followed. Our soldiers are being injured some way, some form, through mental illness, PTSD, training to suicide, to being groomed into these sex cults that involve pedophilia and child pornography, and who knows what not. And they're being brought in to cover up for Jack the Ripper type murder. And that's what Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe is covering up for. That's what he's lying to us for. That's what side he's on, y'all. The same thing with Lieutenant General Donna Martin. The same thing with AG Jaime Esparza. The same thing that Greg McDonald is supposed to be fighting against. He's not. He's not. He's the cover up. They're the mob. They are the mob. And Bill Hicks is right there because it's been, I think, weeks now that we sent a letter. And anybody that's been watching this case absolutely knows the seriousness of this case. And the media is a mob too. And we have, of course, I don't mention it enough. I needed to post it today. I was being a stick walker today, a stick walker powered by gummy bears today. Now that sounds funny, but when you have a lot of grandkids and you're going on a hike, we all have our sticks. We're the stick walkers and we're powered by gummy bears. If you want to get some children to the end of the hike, you power them with a gummy bear, every so many meters. It was a great time. It was a great time. But we have the media, the likes of K-Tip, the likes of El Paso Matters, that take advantage of our goodwill to be tax exempt, and yet they don't show goodwill. They become political attack dogs. They become biased. And I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be biased or a political attack dog, but you've got to pay the taxes then. You can't take advantage of our goodwill to put forth a tax exemption status so that we can get just the stories, just the facts, just the stories out there. And, I think that's fraud. That's fraud when you say, okay, well, we're a tax exempt news media outlet, yet we're still going to be biased. We're still going to be political attack dogs. That's absolutely dishonest. It's fraud. And, yep, thank you, 11 o'clock. Oh, that's a little bit slow. But the bell tolls right at the right time, all the time. The dishonesty, the lack of integrity. And you might think that that's not a big deal. That dishonesty and the lack of integrity and honor, the guide on, is not a big deal. It is. Because it's the first domino to drop. You stop being honest. You give up your integrity. You don't show patriotism to your guidon, to the duty that you swore to, the oath that you swore. In so many situations of all of these leaders. And the next thing you know, you have Jack the Ripper murders and children being sexually assaulted and abused, and porn, and it goes into even bestiality. It goes into incest. See, one leads to the other. You get the pedophilia, you get the incest, you get the bestiality, you get people that get sick and tired of it or don't want any part of it, and then they're brutally murdered, like cut asunder and cut up, and Richard wasn't the only one. Think of Austin Hawke. Think of Vanessa Guillen. Think of Enrique Roman Martinez. Richard wasn't a one-off. And it was for narcotics. It was for pedophilia. It was for gun smuggling within our military. Okay? Sex cults. They all, once you give up your duty and your honor and your integrity and your selfless service and God, once you give up God, the higher ground, then you're going to slide into the abyss real quick, where there's crying and gnashing of teeth. So that guide on all of the creeds and the honor and all of that are a result of course, God, right? And in His law word. When we want to do what we want to do, we're in trouble. We're in trouble. We've taken off all the restraints, and so the next thing we know, we're eating each other. We're chopping each other up. We're sexually assaulting each other. And yeah. So, and we're hiring people. And we're letting them live amongst us that are like Jack the Rippers, that are pedophiles, that are sex cult, and then they get brazen. They get so brazen, and they just feel like they've got so much protection, whereas Richard, as a whistleblower, didn't have protection. And Team Farm Richard Halliday doesn't have protection. But the Jack the Rippers, the pedophiles, the those that pimp out women, young women, very young women, they get the protection because it's all about the money. And see, for Richard, that's why he used to buy fake money and give it to the kids that he was teaching the Bible lessons to, was to teach them that money is, money is not the most important thing in the world. And neither is power. So that's why he said, I'd rather burn my money. I'd rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow. And now, how long can that stand last, Because when you're 20-year-old, 19, 20-year-old, and you have the level of crime that was surrounding him, the level of filth that was surrounding him, and it is. It's so injurious. And that's why Enrique happened. That's why Austin Hawke happened. Because Austin Hawke was a whistleblower. I believe Enrique was too. But he's in cold case. So, these are just speculations on my part, from looking into all of this. And we know that Vanessa was. We know that Asia Graham was. And Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and General McConville and General Mealy, General Garrett, these 44 four-star generals, and our AUSAs, our attorney generals, our inspector generals, our media, our representatives. They're on the side of the perpetrator. And we've been told for decades and decades that they're supposed to keep us safe. I think they all, I think they just need to go away. I yeah, I think we would be better off. I mean, with friends like this, with leaders like this, with attorneys like this, with safe keepers like this. Who needs enemies? Who needs enemies? Who needs who needs Jack the Ripper? When I told my husband, well, I probably shouldn't say it. Um, he was right on. He was right on. Rob is right on. But I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. But I will say, with a government like this, who needs a Jack the Ripper? And when you look at when it all comes out, and you look at Richard's autopsies, because some parts were here and some parts were there, and some parts were in Mexico, fragments. Then I don't know what it takes. I don't even know if I don't know what it takes to wake people up. I don't know what it takes to get people in positions to wake up to see what they've become, what they're protecting, um, or implementing. And I know a $400,000 paycheck can persuade people to do unbelievable evil. I think probably a hundred thousand. I don't know. We have $150,000 reward for information leading up to Richard, and people know. People know about the pedophilia. People know about the narcotics trafficking, the human trafficking. They know about the gun smuggling. They know about this. They know about it. I've talked to so many people and they know about it. And I don't know how many sons and daughters have to suffer through this because, this is MOM stands for missing, murdered, and maligned. Maligned. Look up that word, maligned. So I hope you join that. And we can, as a unit, stand up against this. It looks, and I've been talking about it a couple nights now, at this big giant in front of us, the big green machine or our government, the golden head, with the bronze, and it looks so big because remember what Schumer said. The intelligence agency has 6 ways a Sunday to get even with you. Okay, so he's telling us that the intelligence agency has been weaponized against us. We're not allowed to whistleblow how they contributed to the brutal murder of an active duty soldier. We're not allowed to say how they contribute to the situation of unsafety, uh, of danger that we have been placed in. And they are weaponized against us. They're going to use, if we don't let them sexually abuse our children, if we don't let them film it and market it for child pornography, if we don't let them traffic humans and turn them into slaves, if we don't let them run guns across wherever. Oh, and by the way, military. So we're paying for them, and then other people smuggle them and sell them and make a profit. With our and the bullets, all of that stuff, and maybe even some big equipment. They did it in Afghanistan right in front of our eyes, and they got away with it. They got away with it. And then the contractors get involved with it, or the government employees, along with our military. Can you believe it? And then our media covers it up. If we don't let them do all of this stuff, if we whistleblow, then we're the ones that are the bad guys. Doing Pilgrim's Progress so prepared me, because remember when Christian and Faithful walked into Vanity Fair and they saw the crime all around them, right? The vanity, the games and the business plans, and up to no good. And they saw it all around them. And they said, no, we don't want any part of this. And they were like, oh, what? You don't want to help us molest children? You don't want to belong to the doggy sex cult where we can really stick it to the American people by showing our erection in the uniform? Really make the uniform make us somebody. You better say thank you for your service while I'm doing that. Thank you for your service while I am grooming and rearing puppies, right? It's that's and then what happens to Christian and Faithful? Because they say, no, I don't want to be part of the weapon smuggling, of the narcotics sales, and all things that are so evil, unbelievably evil. And what do? They put them in front of a court, the Vanity Fair court, and they judged them to be guilty. You're guilty, Richard Halliday, for not wanting to spend your money on whores and blow. You're guilty for wanting to protect children. And that's exactly what they did to him, because that's why the retaliation was so severe and continuous. That's why he was brutally murdered. That's why he was first of all, illegally exposed as a whistleblower, so that all of this could happen. It is just so clear why Richard offended them. Because he absolutely called him out on so many fronts, to the CID and also to the Child Protective Service. And you only have to call him out on one to call him out on all the other fronts, because they're all connected. They're all connected. Because you go down one slippery slope, you're in the total mire of all of those. You're, you're just part of it. You're part of it then. So let's talk about this death certificate. Let's talk about these autopsies. Let's talk about the medical examiner, Dr. Marion A. Raskin Ortiz. Yeah, what's going on with that? What is going on with that? The chief medical examiner. So how many people are going along with this destruction? And I know there's so many good things happening because I just experienced it today with the hiking with the kids. There's so much good happening that we put our head, cover our eyes, cover our, plug our ears and cover our mouth because we just are focusing on this little good thing and we don't want to know about the emergency intake center and the children and the child abuse and all the other stuff going on, and it's creeping and creeping and creeping up on us, and it's becoming like a norm. And then we're seeing our young people, do things, and we're like, whoa, that didn't happen when I was a kid. It's creeping up, and it's because we keep on shutting our eyes and plugging our ears and not saying anything, not speaking up, not taking that chance, because we know that there's an organized group out there that is the Vanity Fair that's going to judge us as guilty and put us in danger. And then we might, they make a example. They totally made an example out of Richard. And they've done that with other people. And especially those that are in the law enforcement that want to do the right thing. Because you have, remember, the senior leader that was sent, or part of the military police there on Fort Bliss, that conducted a smear campaign on Richard right there from the police guard mount. And so not only do we have Anthony Swafford, the military police young father, that is, saying, oh, his character is so bad, we don't need to go after. See, that's a psyop. That's a psyop. He's supposed to do his duty, but he's making a judgment on Richard, and he has forgotten what America was built on. You are innocent until proven guilty. And they'll use that with all these very guilty people. But with Richard, they smeared him, and then they just deemed him already guilty. And then Anthony Swafford goes and tries to sabotage the search for Richard, the answers for Richard. Remember, he was already murdered before we even knew he was missing. And we've been put through this. And you're like, okay, where are the proofs? Where are the proofs? We have 1,000 days of proof. 1,000 days of proof. And if you don't think that our government is so corrupt to do something like this, well, go back and look at 1,000 days of proof. Because they are absolutely capable of keeping the truth from us, keeping our sons' remains from us, keeping the death certificate from us, the autopsies from us, keeping who the murderers are, who are the Jack the Rippers. They're absolutely that evil, absolutely capable. If they can't even, if they just tell us, oh, that father-in-law, he's just some guy. Wait a minute. If they, if Command Sergeant Major can say that during the COVID they were, the morale was so low they brought in the girls. Absolute what? And then we're hearing that they were paying them, so they were absolutely having something going on there. Like Richard said, I rather burn my money than spend it on whores and blow in the Vanity Fair, because they were all part of the Vanity Fair, and Richard didn't want any part of it. And so they deemed him guilty. They deemed him worthy to be absolutely, continuously retaliated against and unjustly smeared to project their vanity, all the things that they were doing boldly onto him. And he's a yellow Interpol. A yellow Interpol. I don't see certain people in this case getting 80 subpoenas and warrants and coming out yellow Interpol. But that's Richard. I'm going to take some questions now. Okay. Lots of information coming in, y'all, because of all the stories from a year ago. Wow. Um, from all the FOIAs, from the complaints. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. There's 5 comments that I see. I'm telling you how many because sometimes I don't see them all. Thank you, Jerry, for your prayers. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Patty. Thank you, all bronze and no brains. Yeah. So, and I think I got off track there, but I wanted to say that that's why we're putting together moms, mothers of missing, murdered, maligned soldiers, because then, we can stand up against this big machine. But I'm going to tell you, I think we only need one. One. Um, I mean, the more the better, right? The more the better. But why am I saying, oh, we just need one? Because these are feet of clay. They have to cover up their crimes. They have to cover up their lies. So with that, they have to use more lies and bad training, no esprit de corps and bad training, and more lies and bad training. I mean, we have like the cream of the crop, we're told, at Quantico CID. And she wrote us today. I'll tell you what she wrote. And you tell me if this is the cream of the crop. And she's probably going to get mad at me. But she has to think about this. We are the parents of a brutally murdered active duty soldier. We're on 1,011 days, and she's writing this, and I'm supposed to be like, oh, okay. No. And she's supposed to be cream of the crop. I think it's clay feet. Absolutely clay feet. So let me read what let me see where I put it. Um, oh, man, that's a terrible thing. Yep, here it is. Yeah, I apologize for the delay, and I had to unexpectedly take a sick day last week, and I'm reaching out to share my contact information as well as to let you know that I will be putting together a summary for you of this investigation to date. Um, she's going to El Paso. Go to El Paso, right? Go to El Paso. Um, Send a little summary. They need 15 months. They haven't done anything. They don't even have a summary of the case to put him in cold case. Just put, you haven't done anything since you put him in cold case. So just send us the summary that you had to write to put him in cold case, to put our son, Richard Halliday, in cold case. We haven't even gotten that. While I'm preparing that summary, I was hoping that you might be able to share any information. What? That you currently have that you think would be beneficial to our investigation. Yes, I understand that I'm the chief investigator. So, yes. So we are the chief investigators. This is proof once again that we are the leads, that we are the chief investigators. She doesn't know what's going on. She's the cream of the crop, and she doesn't know what's going on in this case of a brutally murdered active duty soldier in Fort Bliss, El Paso, Texas, the sister city of Juarez, Mexico. The, it's a Siamese sister city where we have leaks of a CID agent. We have conflicts of interest with CID agents with people in Delta Battery 143. We have leaks of being used in a CID case file that we have the number of, that they have the number of, the FBI has the number of, we have the number of the FBI case about this absolutely degenerate situation where children have been sexually abused, where you know that is the first well, that's one of the dominoes that has fallen that goes right into incest at every level. She doesn't know. She doesn't know that we have put up on our Facebook um, that there's a death certificate and some doctor with the last name of Ortiz signed off on it. She can't figure that out. She can't figure out that we have put up autopsies from El Paso, from CID, from Mexico, and she can't write a summary to tell us. I mean, they should be right on it. Right on this. She should have no question of what to write immediately. Immediately. And send it to us. And she's acting so sweet and nice, like, oh, nothing's wrong. Where the FBI, I've been asking, is the FBI hiding the remains of our son? Now I'm asking the whole system if they're hiding the remains of my brutally murdered son. Let me continue. And, you know, I am a pretty happy, nice person. But I read stuff like this after going through stuff like this. And man, is this like treason in itself? I'm just wondering. Not knowing, being like the cream of the crop at the headquarters of Quantico, having 20 years experience as a CID special agent or a special agent or whatever. And she is sending us this kind of message. That's what I'm saying. It's clay feet. They're just cracking up. They don't know what they're doing. And it's not about the sick day. It's about 1011 days. 1011 days. They don't have a summary of Richard's case? And she needs information from us? Again? Which is absolutely admitting that we are the chief investigators? Oh, how are you getting those leaks? How are you getting those leaks? That's hurting our sabotage of Richard's case. Is that what she really means? To me, that my imagination goes into that direction. I ask that you put together the information and any personnel that have reached out to you so that I may review and work to substantiate. She's like, who's your sources? Who's your sources? Where are you getting this information? You can send it via this email address. This is how they take advantage of the goodwill of the American people. This is how they take advantage of victims' families. This is, what do you call this? This is so criminal. It's just so criminal. And she's a contractor. Person, I think she's a contractor. She's not Army. I don't think she's Army. And I just have to, I hope she's watching. Because how many of you think that this is like so bad? Can I read it one more time? I apologize for the delay, right? I had to, after we were on the phone with her, she should have got that summary together and tweeted it and sent it right away to us because they have a summary. Don't tell me they don't have a summary. If they don't have a summary, then they all need to be fired. They all need to be fired. And worse, tried in a criminal court. While I'm preparing that summary, I was hoping you might be able to share any information you currently have that you think would be beneficial to our investigation. And I ask that you put together the information and any personnel that have reached out to you. She's asking for our sources. And the thing is 15 months ago, at least a year ago, they had all the information from a CID and FBI complaint that the officer of the court put in, and they never reached out to him. about a CID special agent leaking to the mother of a first lieutenant that I believe that so many of us believe, was in Delta Battery 143. And they're lying about that. That's what I believe. Because, hello, CID Quantico, wouldn't you want to know that our major suspect of like a major crime, like a Jack the Ripper kind of crime, was he in 243 or was he in 143? Where is he telling the truth? Is he not telling the truth? Don't you want to go through your suspect list and weed them out and weed them out? Hello, 20 years of experience and you're just fishing. Well, I'm not telling you our sources. Well, I have. Go to Anthony Swafford. Go to Nadal Baim. Go to him. Go to Lalani Hart. Go to Hamasocho. Go to Amber Chase. Go to Belen Rocha. Because they've all said things that have given us information on the situation of what happened to Richard. Jay Pollan, Michael Ruggiero, David Park. That's our source, David Park. You can read his letter right on there. I really think that's what I'm going to send her. These are our sources. Danae Katzen, William Molinar. Those are our sources. First Lieutenant Micah Brown. That's our source. Command Sergeant Major Jake Jakovitz. That's our source. Brigadier General David Stewart. He's our source. Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe. He's our source. Lieutenant General Donna Martin. Source. What about General McConville? Big source to the staged task force find Richard Halliday. He should be arrested. What about the Secretary of the Army? She's a big source. She flipped off a sitting senator. Who have we? Oh, yeah. I've got a long list. We've got a long list. I know. Thank you. How dare them? This is horrible, disgusting on their behalf. I know. I should just post it up there. If there's a conflict in CID, why is the CID still doing an investigation when there are already multiple conflicts of interest? Absolutely. And we told them that at the first meeting, y'all. Not the first meeting. We had the first meeting with David Stewart, but the big meeting with the 15 plus. We told them, and the FBI were sitting there right next to them and let it happen. We've been fighting that the CID, we asked Veronica Escobar for a third party. Get the CID out of this. This is a conflict of interest. And you know what? We didn't know at the time, but she herself has a conflict of interest because she doesn't even care to give oversight to the DA, the AG. So Jaime Esparza, who was a DA at the time, we have absolute curiosity and grounds to believe that he was the one that signed off on all of the subpoenas and warrants in our son's case to scrutinize Richard. So Jaime Esparza knows about this. We believe that because he was a DA at the time. I think so. Um, but Veronica Escobar, Cover Up Veronica, has then a conflict of interest because her husband is part of the DOJ. She doesn't want to do oversight of the DOJ if her husband's DOJ. And why didn't she reveal that to us? Yeah. Okay. So, I know. Thank you. Give her the list of names that are involved in Richard's case. Yeah. Negligence on her behalf. Absolutely. I would be upset. Investigation. She should do her own. Yes. All bronze, no brains. Exactly. Grandma used to say. Um, a different department should take over the investigation. Yes. And Danielle, you're absolutely right. And if there's a conflict in the CID, why is CID still? Yep, exactly. And exactly. I would feel that she is fishing as well to try and it would never make it to her summary. They're all trained the same way. They don't give you anything. The summary is going to be Richard went missing. That's going to be the summary. And we don't know anything else. That's the summary. How hard is it? We don't have anything else. Bring us leads. We don't have anything else. How hard is it to write their summary? It's like two sentences long. And they end it with, well, bring us leads. Tell us what you know. Yeah. That's going to be their summary. So, okay, y'all. Thank you so much. And share everything. It's, and also, please write, if you haven't yet, write that letter to the EO class at irs.gov about the media. The local media there in El Paso should be all over this story. All over it. That Quantico is coming to El Paso. Quantico is going to visit the officer of the court. That the family of the missing soldier may come to El Paso. They should be all over this. They should be calling us, seeing what's going on. A contractor allegedly is involved in this. Someone that works, a civilian that works for the U.S. Army is involved in this. They should be all over this. Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe along with Lieutenant General Donna Martin, leads the stage task force Find Richard Halliday under the commands of the general orders of General McConville and probably Mealy, and betray this brutally murdered soldier that was a whistleblower. And they don't even tell the family that their son was a whistleblower and under intense retaliation that ends up in a John the Ripper style murder. And they're just wanting to let the Jack the Rippers walk around or rip other people apart. I mean, this is so insane. So insane. And so sad. And I don't know what, would that make people do a Lorna Doone? A Lorna Doone judge. A Lorna Doone judge. That was Richard's go-to judge. The Lorna Doone judge. Um, if you don't know what that means, go watch Lorna Doone. Um, it's a book, but it's also a movie. So, with that, I'm going to end. Thank you so much, everyone. And sorry, but that letter, uh, I probably should have read it right at the very beginning. Um, that makes your blood boil when you read something like that on day 1011. 1011. All right. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.